I'm asking every American who agrees with me to call your member of Congress, write them an email, tweet them, tell them to stop giving tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans who don't need them and aren't asking for them. Tell them to start asking everybody to do their fair share and play by the same rules.
Hello. This is one of the few things I will actually agree with President Obama on. And the idea that there's economic inequality, wage inequality, tax inequality is evident to anyone who is able to understand numbers. Now, equal taxation is why the colonists started fighting the British in the first place. The idea, the desire for equal taxation is in America's blood. And as Obama stated, 2/3 of millionaires agree and want this legislation.
A person earning $26,000 a year will pay approximately $6,084 in taxes, or 23.4%. Now, someone in the top 400 of Americans will earn about $350 million a year, pay $58 million in taxes, or 16.9%.
In theory. But between gas, food, sales, property, and other special taxes, the person earning $26,000 a year will pay close to 50 or 60% in taxes per year. And thanks to the loopholes, the corporations are likely to give less than their 16.9%. In fact, America's corporations earned $1.6 trillion in 2000 and paid a 15.2% tax rate. In 2008, they took in $1.8 trillion and paid an average of 12.6% in taxes. So this legislation is overdue. But the direction Obama takes this in order to appeal and appease the Republican legislators is not something I can follow.
And if it'll help convince folks in Congress to make the right choice, we could call it the Reagan Rule instead of the Buffett Rule.
Calling on Republicans' natural affection for Reagan sounds like a good idea. But when one examines Reaganomics, one will find it is not such a good idea. Supply-side economics, or Reaganomics, is a school of macroeconomic thought that argues that economic growth can be most effectively created by lowering barriers for people to produce or supply goods and services, such as lowering income tax and capital gains tax rates, and by allowing greater flexibility by reducing regulation. Already this increased tax on the millionaires is anti-Reaganomics. Reaganomics is what George Herbert Walker Bush called voodoo economics when running against Reagan in 1980. Now, what did Reaganomics do to America's economy?
For the top 90% of Americans from 1950 to 1980, income increased 75%, or $13,222. For the same percentage of Americans from 1980 to 2008, income increased 1%, or $303. Now, for the top 1% of the 1% from 1950 to 1980, their income increased $2.4 million, or about 80%. Now, from 1980 to 2008, their income increased $21.9 million, or 403%.
Before Reagan came into office, the bottom 90% and top 1% of the top 1% had approximately the same rate of income growth, 75% versus 80%. After Reagan came into office, the change is drastic. The bottom 90% of Americans saw their wages increase 1%, while the top 1% of the top 1% saw their incomes increase 403%. It's not like America didn't see massive wealth creation during this period of 1980 to 2008. What it also saw, unfortunately, is massive fraud of the American people, and the wage creators, or the wealth creators, that is the American people at large, ended up transferring their wealth to a very, very elite few. One reason for this is the decline in union membership. According to Economic History Services, the peak years for union membership in America were the late 1940s, with around 32% of Americans claiming to be part of a union. By 1985, 5 years into Reaganomics, union membership was down to 18.9%.
Compare that to countries such as Denmark with 82.2%, France at 14.5%, Germany 39.3%, and Norway of 65%, all in the year of 1985.
Today, union membership has fallen even more, and so have the hopes and dreams of millions of Americans. In 2010, the amount of people leaving a union job was higher than the actual net loss of jobs in the workforce, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The rate of unionization fell to 11.9%. That's 612,000 Americans versus the 417,000 leaving the workforce overall, as reported by the New York Times. Unions are a sign of healthy, democratic, socioeconomic situations, an indicator species, if you will. But due to the toxic environment Americans are being subjected to, debt has overcome the way of life, and earning a living is becoming more and more unlikely. Unions are the government of the people, by the people, and for the people in the workforce. If government has any place in business, it is to serve and protect the workers. Unfortunately, the exact opposite has taken place. Thank you.